Welcome back to another episode of Two Scrippers, One Motherfucking Pole. I was gonna finish eating before I started recording, so then I decided, nope, a bitch gotta go to work, but I need to record today, and I don't know when I'm going to or when I will be able to, because by the time I get home from work, a bitch got other plans. And I just be tired. Like I be telling y'all all the time, I just be straight to sleep. So I was like, okay, well, I did seeds last week, I think. And then there was a time I ate the jelly sandwich. You hear that crunch? And if you hate chewing, I'm not sorry, okay? Why? Because eating these grapes are what's gonna make me a bag. So you're gonna have to deal with it. I am eating green grapes, bacon, eggs, and French toast. So the crazy part is, usually, like, what I've been doing lately, my go-to breakfast has been cinnamon pancakes, eggs, and either like bacon or chicken sausage. And I've like kind of been rotating between the two. So I went to make breakfast yesterday, and I realized I ain't have no more pancakes. So I'm sitting there like, damn, I done already took the bacon out, heated the oven. I already cracked the eggs. And so I'm sitting there like, fuck, what do I do? Like, I don't have anything else. I don't want no oatmeal. I'm not about to make cereal when I already started making everything else. So then I looked at my counter. I was like, bitch, you got bread. And then I was like, bitch, you know how to make French toast. Like, I haven't made French toast since, I want to say, probably high school. So it's been well over 10 years. But it just never occurred to me. And I'd be like, what happens is whenever I buy bread, it usually goes bad because it's just me. And I don't want to be eating sandwiches all day. And I was like, French toast requires bread, and you have a lot of bread. So now I'm eating French toast. And then I also have my little side of Greek vanilla yogurt with blueberries in them. Now, I used to do, I'm going to take a sip. If you're into chewing and like ASMR, holla at your girl. I do customs. Yogurt. So, you hear that blueberry? Oh my God, this shit is so good. So I typically would do strawberries and blueberries. But the other day, I was scrolling on Twitter and I saw this really disturbing video of strawberries. And I was just like, oh my God. Like, and it was one of those things where I saw a snippet of the video and I was like, bitch, don't watch this. Don't watch this. But I sat there and watched the whole thing, and I just increasingly got like really, really disgusted. Because the other thing is, like, I'm really squirmish when it comes to certain things. Like, back in my school days, when I had to take like science and shit, I hated. Like, I want you to hear the passion in my voice. Like, Kendrick hates Drake. I hated science textbooks because when I would flip through the pages, if my finger was on an ugly animal, I would freak the fuck out. I would just lose my shit. Like, ugh. And maybe not like crazy, but it definitely like gave me the ick. And I would kind of just like toss the notebook, and I would need a second to recuperate. Because in real life, I fucking hate anything that's like, I'm not scared of birds. I'm not scared of bugs. Like, you know, people are scared of like spiders and bees and I don't know what else. What are other like roaches and whatever else? I'm not scared of stuff like that. Am I disturbed? Yes. But I'm not like freak the fuck out scared. However, when it comes to a worm or a slug or a centipede or a caterpillar, oh, I'm running for the hills. I can't. And I have this habit of looking down as I walk. And so when it rains, oh, it's just a nightmare for me because everywhere is worms. Yesterday I was sitting by the river, down by the river. I was down by the river. I was shaking that ass. So I saw a worm coming out the ground. Y'all, the way I almost just dropped everything and ran. Like the nigga in Get Out, when they was in the backyard, and that nigga just started running. That was about to be me. And I remember back when I was a camp counselor, when I was like a kid, and I was on the one side, and all the other girls, like the little girls, were on the other side. And apparently, a centipede was in a room, and it crawled up into like the vent. Oh, they come knocking on the door. Miss Kia, please help us. I said, help yourself. And what did I do? I taped that piece of paper right over the vent because my bed was right under the vent in the room next door. I said, no. So I taped that paper across that vent, and I just said, may God be with us all, because I don't know what you want me to do. And then when I was younger, I have memories of like me and my brother collecting caterpillars. So I don't know at which point this terror set in. And it's actually funny because I now have 2 episodes that I recorded with 2 different people. And I'm very excited. There's a 3rd one in the works. Well, really, there's a couple ones in the works. So it's gonna be a great year. But one of the episodes that I already have recorded, and I think I don't have my planner. I want to say fingers crossed that I'll be releasing both of those this month. Because I think it's like 2 weeks left. Let me look at the calendar on my laptop. Oh yeah, it is 2 weeks left in May. So maybe you'll get both of those episodes next week and the week after, or maybe you'll just get them when the fuck I give it to you. Because what? You get what the fuck I give you. But part of it, one of the episodes I didn't release, I recorded like way back in April. But I didn't want to release it because I was still kind of waiting on like the news about my artwork. And so if you listen, what episode was that? Retweet my shit, bitch. I think that was 37. I had like said some of the stuff because that's when I had announced it. So that episode was recorded like a couple weeks before that. And so you might hear a repeat of a couple things. But in a different context because I'm talking to somebody. And then it was funny because the other episode that I recorded, naturally, some of the things I was talking about last week in asparagus pussy, some of the things came up in that conversation. So it's just always, I think it's just always interesting. And then, oh my God, last week was such a great week. Like Friday to Sunday to Monday, really. Yeah, Friday, these eggs cold as hell. Friday to Monday were just fantastic. Let me see. Thursday, it really started Thursday because a special guest came over and I just love her so much. And I'm so excited that y'all finally get to meet her. And there's a couple people that I name dropped. So maybe, who knows? Who knows who it could be? It could be a celebrity. It could be like your everyday average smaverage Joe. You just have to tune in and wait and see. Okay? I'm fucking these eggs up. Even though they cold, man, I put my big toe in these bitches. Yeah. And so in asparagus pussy, I had also been talking about like asexuality, and I met someone who identifies as ace this weekend. And I was just like, oh my God. So that's the thing that I'm talking, like, that I think is just so fascinating about life in all these like realms that I'm in, because whether it's sex work, like I'll come across something in sex work and then a couple weeks later it'll come up in like my coursework, or vice versa. I'll read or research something in my coursework and then I'm exposed to it in real life. And so that just like helps me really stay on this path of like following my intuition and following what makes me happy, because there is a connection, and every day that connection is just like making itself more known. I was talking about strawberry science books. Yeah. But I was saying something after. I was talking about releasing episodes. I was talking about my weekend. Okay, so let me go back to the strawberries. So, on Twitter, saw the video. And slugs. Oh my fucking God. I remember in college, one weekend I went home and it had rained on campus, and my roommates thought it would be funny to send me pictures of all the slugs on campus. Yo, I honestly contemplated just blocking their number for the rest of eternity, because why the fuck would you do that? That pissed me off. Like, to pick up your phone, and it wasn't even like no far away, where's Waldo, I spy type shit. No, it was a close up on that hoe. Why the fuck are you sending this to my phone? Anyway, so the strawberry had like all the organisms and shit. I knew I shouldn't have watched it, but I was like, no, we're already here. And it's like one of those things that's just like gross factor. I'm so like, it's disgusting, but I can't not look at it. And that's where I fucked up. Because then, when I went to go buy buy strawberries, and for whatever reason, I bought 2 pounds. Like, why would I don't know why I do shit like that. So, I got like really disgusted and really paranoid. So I started like, I really was like, I'm washing these bitches. I'm washing them. And so I was just like, and it was gross to see how much dirt came off of, like, really whenever I'm cleaning any of my fruit, but like, it was just like, So I cleaned them or whatever. And I was just so paranoid that I just kept like shaking them in the, I think it's called like a colander. It's not a calendar. I think it's a colander. Whatever. You know the thing, the strainer, that thing. So I'm just like shaking. To the point where I bruised the strawberries. The water was turning red. The strawberries looked insane. So I was like, I definitely don't want to eat these now. Like, I feel confident in they're clean, but they look crazy. And now I'm just scared to eat them, because a lot of things for me are like, either it's a texture thing, that's why I don't eat it, or it just looks crazy. And why would I subject myself? Yeah, it could be good, but you're gonna have to like blindfold me or something. But don't blindfold me and give me some slimy shit, because I'm slapping you. I will find your face with a blindfold on and slap the fuck out of you. Don't do that. Ooh, excuse me, sexy. Very sexy. It's so funny because one of my friends swears up and down that I'm a sexy fan, and I'm really not. And so one day we were on the phone. I don't even remember the context of the conversation, but it came up, and he was like, you know what? I'm not even gonna lie. I'm a sexy fan. Like, I love her. There's no more denying it. And I'm like, so you sat here and tried to push your agenda on me. Crazy. Like, motherfuckers always be projecting. So I bruised the strawberries. I was so disturbed that I was like, I can't subject myself to this again. Or I can't subject myself to eating this in this state. So I sat there and I tried to like go through it and find like which ones look good. But was still really bothered to eat them. But it was 2 pounds of strawberries. So I was like, nah, I'm not going to throw them out. So what I decided to do is use my air fryer dehydration feature for the first time. Because I was like, oh, I can make strawberry chips. And I guess it went well because I bought some oranges and lemons because I want to cut those up and dehydrate those so that I can put them in my tea. Because I really want to start making like my own teas. I usually do the yogi tea. But it be like $5-6, and I be drinking tea out the wazoo, okay? Um, so it's really not, unless you want to be like my tea sub and send like $10 a week, for me to get tea. Email me, baby. mistressmango@proton.me. Subject line, tea sub, please. And really, that's a steal, okay? You get to buy me tea weekly for $10? Like, come on now. Come on. Anyway. So, well, I'm making my own teas because yogi tea be expensive. I really just want to get more into like my loose tea. Like, I've been learning a lot more about like herbs and plants, and y'all, my garden. Okay, let me hurry up and finish the strawberries because this kind of goes into why my weekend was just so amazing. So I put them in the air fryer to dehydrate, and I put them in 3 different times. The first time they were still kind of juicy because it lets you. I think I put like 2 hours at 120. That was the default setting. And then I put them in again for another 2 hours, but at 170. And they still had like a little bit of juice in them. So then I did them overnight for 6 hours at 170 because you can't go higher than 170. So then when I got up in the morning, they were like still a little juicy. So I'm like, what the fuck? So then I was just like, okay, let me try to actually air fry them. And I feel like I try to burn my building down at least, I want to say like twice a month, really. And maybe I just need to look more into that. Like, why am I always potentially burning down buildings? Like, I think I told you about the time where I almost burnt the building down as a RA trying to fry some chicken. Mind you, I didn't even get to the fried chicken. Like, I was just heating up oil. Then there was the time during Thanksgiving where I almost burnt down the house trying to make sweet potatoes. I remember the first time that I discovered fire, and I kept lighting Q-tips on fire, and I didn't put one out all the way. That was literally the day I discovered how to use matches and lighters. I was still in elementary school. What else? Several times I've almost. There was a time with me and my cousin after we recorded Dildo and a Power Drill. I went to the back room. I just look in my room. It's a huge fucking flame. Like, don't leave candles unattended. Because that was like, it was in a candle holder. And the issue was, I didn't plan on leaving it burning that long. And there was still wrapping around the paper. So it got down and the paper caught on fire. That was just, it was insane. I can honestly go on and on and on. That is not the beat of the song, but I was just really trying to catch a wave. So this instance, I don't know if y'all heard that, but I can't really tell if that was like a dog or somebody's brakes. And I know that's two different sound comparisons, but it was like, it's like a not like that noise, but it's like a stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. So I don't know if it's like a woof, 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 really faintly, or somebody's brakes is like they try to slow down and it's like but like screechy. Anyway, so I put them in the air fryer and I'm cooking my breakfast, and I'm like, something smell a little burnt. And I couldn't tell if I couldn't tell where it was coming from. But I was finished with my food, or cooking my food. So I went over to grab my air fryer strawberry chips. And I had them on wax paper. But now at this point, because the strawberries were just like so like light, the air fryer sucked the wax paper up and it was starting to burn. So I really caught it at the right time. And it's really unfortunate because the strawberry chips were still a little moist. I'm like, what the fuck? There's no winning. They were good. But they just weren't hard like I wanted them to be. So I just have to go back to the drawing board on that one. So yeah, Thursday, recorded an episode with a friend, was really excited about that. Then had just like some really eye-opening conversations with some people, which has really kind of shifted my day-to-day practice, and really just trying to get more into a routine. So like getting up in the morning and eating breakfast, taking the time to make breakfast and eat it, getting back into yoga, trying to slowly move back to pole, because I know that it's good for me. I know that it is good for me. I love when I pole, but my body just be like, bitch, relax. And I feel like every time I approach pole or reapproach pole, it's like I'm doing it in this place out of like, I need to perform. I need to look like I've been doing this. And, you know, it's just my goal, as I've been saying for a couple months, I think in all parts of my life is like, this idea of flow and finding what feels good and not just like doing it because I can. Excuse me. And like what's easy for me, you know. So I have my go-to pole moves, and I'm not really doing any strength training, so like I'm not about to sit here and climb up this pole because that's a lot of body weight. I don't know how much I weigh because my scale battery is low. Like I don't really weigh myself that often. I try not to get caught up in that because I look good, I feel good, so that's all that really matters, right? But also staying on top of nutrition and things of that nature. What else? Reading. What else? Trying to sit with nature, connecting with nature, in some way, shape, or form, whether that's sitting in my balcony and people watching, or looking at like nature, or going to the river, or if I can't make it to the river, like this morning, since I have like limited time because I have to go to work, I as I was cooking one day when I went down to the river, I had like recorded the sound of the waves, not the waves, the well, I guess it's kind of waves, the water, and I'll play a little snippet. Playing that in the background as I cooked. And just like, well, first I did it as I wrote my morning affirmations, and then can just, cause it's like 44 minutes. And then I just continued to play it in the background while I cooked to kind of help me reconnect and be able to visualize that. So, yeah, Friday, one of the art therapies, like I love this art therapist so much. She has been like a huge inspiration, and just eye opener, for how I want to practice, really helping me kind of like see from a different perspective. Since I mainly have worked with group therapy and never really, I've never experienced group therapy for myself, or at least organized group therapy. I remember one of my therapists had like suggested to me, and I was like, what the fuck? I don't want to talk to people about my problems. But actually group therapy is amazing, because I think it also helps you realize that like, you know, there are other people dealing with yours your same or similar emotions or feelings or experiences. And like we may have a similar experience, but they're similar, not the same. So someone might have a different outlook on something that might be able to offer you like some coping skill or just like a different perspective on whatever it is you're going through. And I definitely think like as a therapist, it's really helpful too, because sometimes, especially with the group that I'm working with, it's like it's this certain magic of the group. And me as a therapist, I don't talk as much. I kind of play like the holding space, listening role. And I think part of it too is because I'm still in this like baby learning student space. So I'm just really trying to soak in. And like the actual licensed art therapist, when there are certain moments where I feel like I don't have an answer, I just listen to see what they say. How do they phrase a question? Or how do they flip something? Because like, for example, for one of my projects, my y'all, I got it incomplete because I had to continue my internship, but it's gonna be an A. And then I got another A in my psychopathology class, and I got a B plus in my process class. I really thought I was about to get straight A's, but you know, it's okay. So I was talking, so in my internship class, as part of our final project, both in process and in internship, we've been exploring this idea of like metaphor. Because really, in art therapy, your artwork is a metaphor for whatever it is you're experiencing or thinking about, or metaphoric communication, or metaphoric imagery. So we had to like go over review a session that we already had and kind of just like, how did the session go? Blah, blah, blah. Going through details of that. Okay, now create an artwork that represents this. So I made a small book, and I'm not going to show it because it's like, and I did a lot of mirroring with clients this year. And it's just literally like, are they drawing something? Draw the same thing that they're drawing, or like mirror their actions. And it's like kind of like helping you as a therapist. I would say it helps kind of put you in their shoes a little bit, or see how they might process things or experience their process, whether that is like kind of maybe getting the insight of like their thinking process, or just like how they get settled. Like, what is something that they do? They come in every week, and then they get the paper, they scribble. So maybe you're taking part in that next to them. And so I definitely recommend it with like child clients, because it kind of builds that connection. It's like I see you, I hear you without saying that. And if you are a therapist or a student and you have a different interpretation of mirroring, please send questions, stories, topics, and corrections to toadscribblesmonpole@gmail.com. Yes. So to represent that, I made like a little book, a picture book, and just kind of describing what I thought our relationship was and how that session went. And I left like the last page blank because the story's not over yet, since like even though the semester ended last week, I'm still at my internship making up hours, and I'll be there till June. So I can't give you an ending to the story because the story is still developing. And then like speaking in metaphoric language, like one of my cohort members was like, well, what do you think you would title the last chapter? And I was like, I don't know. Like, it would just, at this point, I don't know, because I don't. We talk a lot about like being open to surprise. You can go into a therapy session with a plan, but also plan for things to pivot. And like, especially in person-centered therapy, like the client is leading the session, where are they going? So you can be there with your safety measures, or like a plan to regroup, or if they really just like, I don't know today, or they're not talking about anything. You have that plan in place, like, okay, well, maybe let's talk about this, or let's dive into this, or you have certain questions that you want to kind of probe them with. But you never know, they might come in like really irate, and you gotta bring them down, or vice versa, they're just like really just like giving you nothing. Yeah, so that, and then we had to make a metaphor of like, in part of that metaphor, how do you see yourself? So when I had originally did the book, I was like, oh, we're kind of like co-authors in this story. Which I kind of feel like we do. My professor she said something, and I was like, it's the end of the semester, I don't care what you talking about. But I always like, she gave really good feedback, and so I like to like go back and look at it. But I'm like, girl, ain't nobody got time for that, I got other things to do. Like, I did the assignment, give me an A, leave me alone. Like, that's how I be feeling reading feedback. Like, you lucky you got anything from me. But anyway, and so I started thinking about it a little bit further, and I considered myself a bookshelf because I'm holding space for all of these clients. And then I was like, I like the idea of being bookends, considering myself bookends instead, because they're portable, they're expandable. And it was another reason why I had why I made that, but I just felt like bookends were more appropriate than a bookshelf. And so back to what I was saying, is like to see like kind of the point of view of other things. So I made the bookends out of clay, air dry clay, and in chaotic fashion as always, on my way to school that day, and this is like the last day of class, on my way to school that day, one of the bookends broke. So then in class, after I presented, but in class, the other one broke. So I was just like, fuck it, and I threw it away. And eventually, I didn't realize I had to take a picture and submit it. So my professor emailed me, and she's like, yeah, make sure you send it in by Friday, 11:59, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, fuck. So I still had the template, so I took a picture of the template, and I sent her the template, and I was just like, yeah, unfortunately it broke. This is what I have, but it is my intention to remake them. And so she said something and was like, maybe they broke because they're just not ready to hold books yet. And I was like, the bookends serve as a metaphor for how I see myself as a therapist holding space, right? And so they're not sturdy because I'm still a student. Like, I'm not a therapist yet. I'm learning to be the best therapist that I could be. So yeah, in a sense, it does make sense that it broke because I'm still learning. I'm still building up my toolkit to be a durable bookend for my future clients. And then it was like another time when I first started. My supervisor, oh, I love this woman to pieces. I'm just like, especially, I'm really, really grateful that I got the internship that I did and the supervisor that I got my first time around. And it kind of makes me nervous for when I do step into that second internship, that I just hope that, like, not necessarily everything's easy peasy lemon squeezy, especially since I'm probably going to go the more clinical route, since I did community this go round. But I'm either going to go more clinical, or I might actually look into like working in a prison system. So either way, it's like I'm coming from something that's like a lot more lax. And I put lax in quotation marks, because it's still like structures in place, but compared to a clinical or like words, a prison system, is way more lax. So you have this like balance beam. So yeah, it's like, I was saying that I'm just really grateful that I got the experience that I did, because when I did undergrad, my first student teaching experience was horrendous. Like it just wasn't. I honestly contemplated just giving up and not becoming a teacher. It was just like, I thought that things were going well. And then I had like my first meeting in observation with my supervisor and my mentor teacher. And I'm sitting here thinking like, and this is like, cause the way it happened was just like, you spend the first week or two observing, and then you slowly start picking up the teacher's like, course load. And so at this point we're like 5 weeks in, and she didn't have that many classes, so I already took over her entire course load. And we're doing this observation, and I'm thinking everything went good, my lesson plans were written, blah 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 blah. And both of them were just like, rip me to shreds. Like, this isn't a lesson plan. I don't know who told you this. This is not effective, and I don't understand what you're doing. Also, like, Montgomery County, I'm also just really thrown off from ever working with them. I mean, as I've said, I don't see myself. If I go back to teaching, it would be more of like a professor and college route. But definitely would not go back to. I don't want to work in Montgomery County. Cause just they're like, I don't like it. So it was like, just ripped it to shreds, and then wanted me to rewrite all. Mind you, I was teaching Head Start to 5th grade. They wanted, and it was like, so that's like 6 through like 6, because I think, did they have Head Start? Is Head Start and pre-K the same thing? I think it is, but anyway, so they just wanted me to completely just like, and I'm like, what the fuck? And the other thing is like, I felt like it was the case. My mentor teacher, she used to do this thing that I still have them too, and that was helpful. It was like glows and grows. Like, what did you do well while teaching, and what do you need growth in? And I used to sit there and read them, and I took it to like, really, I felt like I was digesting what she was telling me. And then both of them was just like, no, da da da. And she's like, well, I told her this. And I said, no, you didn't. Like, I was just so caught off guard to the point where I literally just broke down in snotty nosed tears. Cause what? So then, I went and I called my teacher crying. And if it's one thing about Miss K Broadwater, I love her so much. I love that woman so much. Like, she did not play about me. She was like, what? Oh, no. She's like, don't even worry about it. I got it covered. And she was just like, and apparently my supervisor at the time, the other person, I think it was like 2 other people she was supervising in Montgomery County, and they both had like really like horrible experiences with her too. But yeah, they wanted me to do this, and I sent the email. I was like, yeah, I don't know if y'all speech was supposed to be motivational or whatever, but y'all just y'all drained me of all motivation, and I genuinely don't have the energy to do what you just asked me to do. And I just feel like it was really crazy for y'all to come at me sideways like that. And then both of them was just like, So anyway, I had a rough time my elementary school internship experience. When I transitioned to high school, I was in PG County, and I took on a full course load the second day, because what happened there too was I was split between 2 teachers, and I was teaching ceramics because they had an A-Day, B-Day schedule. So I think on like A days, I was with a teacher who taught like Art 1 and art history appreciation. And then on B days, I think I was with the ceramics teacher. So, and their classrooms were right next to each other. So I switched between the two. And it was like all of the ceramics classes, I think it was all ceramics 1, and then just like, art appreciation and art 1. And it was only 3 classes for me to take over. So I spent like the first week observing. And that was the other thing. I got to see them multiple times per week. Whereas with the elementary school level, you see the classes once a week because there's so many, which is another reason why I just really I couldn't teach art in the elementary school level. So yeah, my second experience was just all around 10 out of 10, way more amazing than my first. So going into this, I was a little nervous. My supervisor, love her. When I had a meeting with her, I was showing her the first artwork because at the beginning of the semester. So for my internship class, you have like, it's pretty chill. Like, it's called supervision. So we come in and we just like talk about whatever is going on with our internship, connecting it to real life, or like helping each other just kind of process whatever it was like we're experiencing. And or like riff ideas off of each other, sharing cases, all of that. So our very first assignment is always a initial art exploration. So what are you hoping to gain this semester? Whether it's like as yourself, personally, or professionally, academically, or how are you still kind of like taking the knowledge from before and applying it? Like, what is your vision for this semester? And then at the end, we do the summary art exploration. So like at the beginning, I had started, we were doing a lot of readings on like the therapeutic presence and what that means. So I had made this like grid, and every day that I was leading session, I made like a little square, just kind of like processing what happened that day. And I would do it in session. And then at the end, that's when I switched to include the bookends to the what's it called? To the what's that called? The book. So my very first, when I did internship in the fall, my summary art exploration, and I actually have it. Can I show that? Let me see if it's like, y'all, one thing art therapy is gonna do is gonna make sure you fill this sketchbook. This is the first sketchbook that I've ever filled in my entire life. Yeah, I can show this. Because it doesn't have anything. Yeah. So what I did was I created a series of like a puzzle piece landscape, and I had like wrote like KP on it. And then in each of the 4 corners, I had like drawn like a little doodle or whatever. So I did like books in one. I did a student ID in the other, and then I did like people holding hands, and I colored them different colors. And then in the last one, I did I did a brick wall on a road going through a tunnel. And the only one besides like the ones in the middle of the piece. So, hold on. The puzzle pieces in the middle, and then that last corner with the tunnel are fully colored. There's no white space. Whereas the one with the books, the one with the ID, and the one with the people holding hands, only the object has color. Everything around it is white space. And I got to a point while I was working, like I finished the tunnel first, and I got to a point where I was working where I was like, I don't really know what else to add. And I don't know how to make this like more full. And it kind of bothers me that it's white space, but just like compositionally as an artist, it does. And so I was kind of like talking about that to my supervisor. And she was like, well, and I was just kind of talking about how I was really excited to meet new people, work with other people, to dive into this internship, especially since I had like such a rough experience in undergrad. And I know it's two different professions, but it's still just kind of like you're walking into someone else's setting, and having to learn like people, and you're also taking on other people's like burdens, or maybe not burdens, I don't want to use burdens, but to them they feel like burdens in some cases. And like I've said, I love learning, so I was just really excited about this, but I was also kind of like, I don't know what else to add. So as I'm having this conversation with her, and I'm looking at it as more of like a technical thing, she was like, how my other teacher said, well, of course you don't have them filled in because you're still on that journey. Like there's still more to learn, it both in school and in your internship. And you're gonna meet so many different people. And this was done like very like right in the beginning. So it was just like I didn't know anybody really. But just to always have that kind of like, you know, we'll draw something or we'll do something, and then some like just talking to somebody else, you can kind of see like, oh, like, okay, subconsciously, or maybe just being able to look at something from a different point of view. Like not such a jaded point of view. But this has just been like an amazing experience, and like getting to see, like, you look at someone's art and you think like, you make these assumptions, but unless you ask questions, like, you're curious, like, oh, like, you see some circles on somebody's pages that kind of seems like it doesn't connect with everything, or you might assume it to be like, I'm thinking specifically, yeah, I can go into that. I had this past weekend. So before I get into that, yeah, put a pin in it. So back to my train of thought Friday. That's how I got here. The art therapist, the main art therapist, is unfortunately leaving. And I'm so sad. Luckily, she'll be one of my teachers in the future, but for now, I'm no longer working with her. So it was like, we decided to throw like a going away party, not only for her, it was for her transitioning to a different job. It was me at my internship site. There's 4 interns, including me. And so, you know, this is a season where interns start like leaving. And then a couple of staff and interns are actually graduating. So we just decided to make this like huge celebration. And it was beautiful. My heart is just so pure, and I don't want to cry on the internet. But it was really a great experience, and I really contribute that to my supervisor, because normally when we've done like potlucks or parties or anything, it's been like the way we run my group. We have hybrid and we have a hybrid, so virtual and in person, and they started that during, I think, after the pandemic. So what we've done in the past is like, we'll do the virtual option the first hour from 10 to 11, and then from 11 to 1 it'll be like the party. But my supervisor was really adamant about like, no, we need to tell people to come in if they can. We're not going to do the virtual option. And we were all kind of just like, oh, but what about the people that did that? But seeing how that event played out, I'm really glad that she did that. And some people were able to come out. So it was just like a really, like, some people that we only see through a computer screen were able to come in person and like celebrate and be there with us. And just like so much wisdom within the room. I'm trying really hard not to cry. So one of the gifts that they had given all of us was like, where is it? Oh, it's in my room. It was like they made little pinch pots, so like little tiny clay pots, and they gave us succulents, and I named mine Kevin. So I got a nice little succulent to add to my plant collection. And just had like a really heartwarming experience. And I don't remember what I did that evening. Um, but I just had a really good day. I was riding on a high, and I think, did I go? I don't think, no, I was running late that morning. Did I go to the river that morning? I think I might have went to the river that morning. And then Saturday, shout out Jack, shout out Cuddle Club. It was home cooked cuddles, and the person who hosted it, their house was beautiful. Oh my goodness, that house was lovely, and I was like, this is what I dream about my house looking like. So I needed to be there so I could really get the vision and see myself in it. I mean, the backyard was popping. They had a fire pit. They was growing their own herbs and plants and everything, and then they had a nice little sunroom, the open floor plan, and it was like, I didn't go upstairs or downstairs, but upstairs looked spacious from what I could see, and just like, it was such a beautiful home. And it was just so many beautiful people and so many beautiful spirits in there, and like, we got to meet new people who came out to join us. And I always learn something new about consent, and just how to be a good human when I'm in Jax's presence. And so it's just always and really anybody else that comes out. Um, and it's just always like a fulfilling experience. So it was just like really beautiful, and the sun was out. Luckily, it started raining after everybody went home. So it was just like, my heart was really full. And then when I was leaving, they gifted us plants. I was like, oh my God. So I got another plant. It was a spider plant. So I was really excited about that, because the whole time I was looking like, wow, these plants are so beautiful. And then as we were leaving, they were like, yeah, go ahead and take one. And I was like, oh my God. So that was really nice. And then Saturday, what did I do Saturday? Ah, oh, May is masturbation month, and I've been so busy masturbating, I haven't gotten the chance to make ads. So use the link in the description and use code BBMango30 at Bellessa checkout to save 30% off your next nut and masturbate with me all month long. And while you're at it, head on over to Patreon and join one of the tiers so you can experience behind the scenes poll play, toy talk, where I talk about all these lovely toys, and tales of a sensual fendom. Y'all know it gets crazy. Back to the show. Oh, fuck. Oh, wait, no. I just said what I did Saturday. So Sunday was Mother's Day. And so sending light and love to anyone who that day was challenging for. And happy belated Mother's Day to those of you who are mothers. And whether that's like a biological or adopted, or maybe you're like me and you have grandchildren running around. Wow, not grandchildren, godchildren running around causing a ruckus. Or maybe you just play a motherly figure for someone, a motherly role model, and you have that relationship. So wishing honorary Mother's Day, and sending light and love to those who find that time challenging. And so I had like spent the morning running around doing errands. I went to Lowe's, and it was funny. This dude, he was like, they were running around giving out like free some flower, I don't know. And he like walked past, he was like, happy Mother's Day. And I was like, yeah. And then he gave me the flower. And then, I got to spend time with my mother and my brother. So that was like a third plant. And then when I went to my mom's house, just being able to spend time with her, spend time with my brother, especially since I haven't been spending as much time with them. And then my mom gave me, and I actually can show you this one. because all my other plants are either on the balcony or in the room. And so I actually need to, because this is a succulent, so it doesn't need this much water. And I actually want to take it out of here before it potentially root rots. But this is like, I already have an aloe plant, but this is like some other kind of aloe plant. That looks kind of funny, and apparently it grows like crazy looking flowers. My mom was like, it low-key creeps her out because it's just like one day it's normal and then the next day you see this like weird thing kind of growing out of it. I haven't named this one yet, but she gave me that. And then this woman so my plants, ooh, that was loud. My plants are in desperate need of being repotted because I believe you're supposed to repot every, I was about to say 3 to 4 business days, every 6 months to a year, depending on the plant. And I know it's definitely been at least a year since I repotted most of my plants. So I was like, let me just go ahead and start that process. So my mom had, and I don't know what the plant is, but the way that it is calcified, the right word, hardened is what I'm trying to say. But sometimes I'm be trying to sound a little smart and studious, you feel me? So I'm gonna say calcified, and if it's wrong, oh the fuck will. Y'all already know how that goes. Send corrections to 2scrippers1pole@gmail.com. All my gardeners out there, I'm gonna figure out what plants I got, and y'all help me figure out like what's the best way to make sure these bitches grow, okay? Cause Lil Durk, y'all, hold on, cause let me show y'all Lil Durk. Ooh, okay, so this is Lil Durk, right? And I've had him. Georgina, you've seen a picture of Georgina. If you haven't seen a picture of Georgina, go watch episode Big Booty Ho Ho Ho, or Big Booty Ho. Oh no, okay, great. So this is, I think it's a fiddle leaf, fig leaf, I don't know, but it's one of them tree plants. And Georgina is nice and healthy. She currently has, is that a third leaf? Yeah, my girl be growing, and I cannot wait till my bitch is a tree, okay? But Lil Durk, on the other hand, I call him Lil Durk because he's so tiny and he just won't grow. But then when I first took him out, it's like, yo, this nigga got roots. He has roots. And right now I'm in the process of like trying to rinse him off so I can repot him. And I'm not understanding why he refuses to grow. I haven't seen a new leaf on him in so long. And it's really just upsetting me and my homegirls because I just feel like if Lil Durk won't grow, then who the hell else is going to grow? Like I have to, oh, I just broke this off. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Y'all tell me how to help Lil Durk. Okay? But yes, I called him Lil Durk because he was just like Dirk, not dirt. Because I've had to you call your plant Lil Durk? No, he is named after the rapper Lil Durk. And I called him Little because he was just so tiny. And then when I repotted him the first time, I was like, oh, he's a big boy, a real big boy. So I just can't understand what's going on with that. So yeah, back to my mom. She had this plant, and it's been for a couple of months. I knew I should have took it way earlier. But I was like, this plant is really beautiful. Let me take it and let me see if I can help it hold on for dear life or something. And she's like, okay. And then we just never got around to it. So I finally took the plant from her, and that thing was dead, right? And I was like, oh, maybe my green thumb is really cooking out. Cause my snake plant, every time I look at my snake plant, and I have 2 separate snake plants. This snake plant that's growing, I actually propagated myself. And so I'm super proud. I had cut it off. I propagated it twice, and then I decided to just combine them. And so this baby is growing. I have 5 new leaves in this plant, and like then my amaryllis, it blooms every so often. So it's just been like really great in terms of plants. And I was like, my green thumb is coming. Let me try to revive this. That thing was so dead. And when I was talking to my mom about repotting plants, I was like, yeah, it's time every 6 months to a year. She was like, what? Like, I repot like every 2 to 3 years. Debbie. And now you wondering why that thing dying. So then when I took it out, y'all, this thing should have been a tree. It had such a beautiful potential of a life. And I took that thing out. It had so many roots. I called her. I said, when is the last time you repotted this plant, Mom? She said, 2019. Girl, and you sitting here wondering why this thing dead. Oh my goodness. I've never been so disappointed in my life. 2019, that's crazy. That's crazy. So, yeah, now I'm like, I want to get that plant. It was like one piece that seemed to, I don't know if it had any nodes on it though. So it was one piece that still had like some green in it. So I was like, maybe I can try to propagate this and see where to go from there. So fingers crossed. So yeah, that was Sunday. Oh no, okay, so Friday I did go. Was it Friday? I think Friday I did go to the river, and then I made it to internship on time. It was Monday where I was late. So Monday morning I got up, went to the river, came back, made breakfast, and then I went to my internship. And on Mondays I lead the session. And so the way that we run group is like, it's a 3-hour total. So the first hour from like 10 to 11, we're catching up, checking in. How has your week been? What's your stress level on a 0 to 5 scale? Do you have any feelings of suicide? Like, let's talk about that. Is it low, medium, high? Do you have more passive thoughts? Like, if a bus just took me out today, or a train took me out today, or if I didn't wake up, like, I wouldn't be mad at it. Is it more passive, or if it's like, no, as soon as this group is over, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna grab this gun, or I'm gonna go grab this, or I'm gonna swallow a bunch of pills. Like, you have a plan, you have an intention, you have the means. And like also normalizing these feelings of like, a lot of us sometimes. And as much as I've realized I'm like a happy therapist, and I'm just a happy person. And so sometimes, that's not always super well received. And I kind of have to like think about, why is that? Because I do feel very happy. But that's not everybody's reality. And so, I bring that up because it was one time where I had wanted to do the directive. So that's where I was at. The first hour is a directive that, like, we do that check-in. Then the leading art therapist gives like a prompt, and the members can choose to respond to the prompt or not. Typically they do. And then after that, we move into open studio. So you can continue working on whatever you started working on for the directive, or you can just completely do a different project. So one day I had planned to do an emotional landscape. So like, if you like tuning in with yourself and your feeling, how would that look like? So maybe an example is like, maybe I'm having like just a really rough day. Maybe I might include like thunderstorms, or I might include like really rocky, rough mountains if I feel like I just keep striving for something and it's just unattainable. So I have this huge, terrifying mountain. Or maybe I really just do feel calm and chill. So I'm like a nice river, or maybe that river has a bunch of rocks and it's like one of those like level 5 whitewater rafting, So if you were to envision your emotional state as a landscape, what would that look like? So that's what I had a plan to do. And then we were all talking about like that day, the members, they all have like some kind of like physical ailment that they're dealing with that particular day. And so they were just really talking about how like the medical system, and they hate it, and and it was just like, it was really stress inducing. So for me, I pivoted and I was like, let's draw like a circle or some shape and draw something within that, that like, or write about whatever frustration you have that you're dealing with, and then turn it into something more positive, like work over top of that. So I did like a collage, and other people did like paintings and stuff, and it came out good. But then when I had like mentioned it to one of my professors, she was like, why? Like, that was the perfect time. You know, everybody's talking about their frustrating emotions. That was the perfect time to dive deeper into like your frustrations with the medical system. What can you do with that? And really kind of get to the bottom of those feelings. And so I realized like that I like to I and I think part of it is because since I'm still that student, there's a little bit of hesitancy on my part to dive into the rougher or tougher topics, because especially since I don't always talk, I just kind of like, well, what if somebody gets like really emotional and crazy, and and I mean crazy in the sense of just like there's a lot, like so much emotion. How do I respond? What do I do? And so me switching the directive in that pivot, it still wasn't a bad one, but the emotional landscape really would have probably been better, so that we could have a healthy discussion, and it would be like a safer approach. Like, we can bring it back to the art, and that, like, you have the autonomy to throw it away or to work over it again, or whatever. But like, we can contain those feelings into this artwork. And we always kind of say, just go back to the art. What is the art saying? What is, so I brought that up because I was talking about how I feel like I'm sometimes too positive of a therapist, but it was a particular reason why I brought that up, and I can't remember. So if I remember when I'm listening to it, I'll just put it in Unfinished Thoughts next week. Or whatever the next episode that would be after this, because y'all know these shit's all over the place. Okay, you get what I give you. So anyway, Monday morning, I started out at the river. My mom had these, and I had came home and did yoga, and I was reading this book. I'm actually going to read an excerpt of this book to close off, but I was just really thinking about like finding what feels good. If you do yoga with Adrienne, that's like her motto: what feels good, finding what feels good. There's no right or wrong. There's techniques to everything, but what feels good for you. And I also think about how I'm trying to spend more time connecting with nature, as I mentioned in the beginning. And especially, I've always been drawn to water, and I was kind of reflecting, and I was like, I think I've been drawn to water because I personally lack, or I feel like I lack, that flow and ease. And so being next to the water reminds me to breathe and inhale and take in nature, and just like really kind of like dig deeper into things. And like the way the river flows, that's a visual reminder of like, take it easy. It's gonna be okay. Like, everything flows together, and everything works out, and like everything is harmonious. And so I think I'm so drawn to the water now in this like reflection, because I feel like I lack it, and it's like a tangible reminder of like how to incorporate these things in my life. So then I started thinking, like trying to do the yoga, and I can do 10 minutes or 15 minutes. I don't have to do the 30, 50 hour long yoga session. And how can I feel connected to the river when I'm not? Like, what are these other things that make me feel good? Eating healthy makes me feel good. Doing yoga makes me feel good. Doing pole makes me feel good. Taking a nap makes me feel good. Water in all of its mighty forms makes me feel good. And so there was like this rock, and my mom had a bunch of rocks in the plant, and they were like really smooth. And so for the directive, I was saying to everyone, especially like, because we're in this position where the main art therapist that they've been working for been working with for years leaving. The interns are leaving. The other intern is still, like, we're both leaving in June, but she's leaving the group earlier than me because her program is a lot more intense during the summer. So she's like, I just won't be able to. I might be able to pop in here or there. So I'm like the last man standing in terms of the interns working with that specific group. But I literally have, like, I think four more weeks, which it really isn't a lot of time. So I'm really, like, some of the directives have been a little bit more focused of, like, reinforcing coping skills. Because, they're all really, like, we've grown, like, it's a massive shift. It's not one person leaving. It's 3 people who were core to this group for the past, like, I've been with this group since the other art therapist has been there for a year. And then me and the intern have been there since September. And so a lot has been discussed, a lot has been shared, a lot has just been like, and now we're all leaving. So it's really like focusing on, like, what do we have, what are our strengths, how can we hone into that, what else do we have around us to help us, like, bring us back to ourselves or help us become more clear-headed. So the directive that I did was think about something that makes you feel good, and not only what makes you feel good, but how realistic or capable is it for you to incorporate this on a day-to-day basis? And so to come back to a point that I had mentioned earlier when I was looking at my sketchbook, like, one of the people who participated was talking about, like, how important music was to her. Just like music, every chance she gets, she wants, and it doesn't matter what kind of music, country, jazz, R&B, hip hop, like, she just loves music. And so there was, like, it was cute little doodles on the page, and it was like this area that had, like, colorful circles and, like, lines underneath. And so looking at it, you might perceive it as balloons or some kind of party. So I had asked, like, after she explained the drawing, and I was like, can you tell me more about the circles? And so she was like, oh, that's actually her water aerobics class, and that the teacher, like, plays a whole bunch of fun music and they do routines and stuff. And it was like, I was sitting there thinking it was balloons. And so I never would have known that was that. And it's like, in art therapy, because a lot of people are like, oh my God, I don't know how to draw, I don't know how to do this, and da 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 da. We are all creators. And so if you draw, of course, sometimes we want to see a little bit more. But if you genuinely just, like, you draw a circle and you say that, like, this circle represents, like, the time that you spent with your dad doing this favorite memory, or maybe it reminds you of, like, when you had this really heartbreaking breakup or something. But it's like, the art is what you say it is, right? It's the intention or the thought behind it. What were you thinking about when you're doing that? Unlike in an art class where it's like, okay, I'm teaching you a technical skill and I'm expecting you to perform the technical skill. So yes, in that instance, I see where people are like, I don't know how to draw, I don't know how to do this. And that's why when I taught more from, like, an exploratory and materials based than I did, like, technical skills. Because even I feel like as a technical, like, I'm not a technical artist. I just be doing shit and hope it work out. That's how I approach life, as y'all can tell. So yeah, it was like, had I not asked that, or even there was, like, somebody else who recalled a memory from boarding school, and it was like these mountains up in the background. And so asking about, well, what about the mountains did you like? Oh, like, did it ever snow? What was that like? Or did you ever get to climb the mountains? And just kind of like, and that's something that's really cool about art too, is like, well, if I don't necessarily know how to respond to something you're saying, like, take it back to the art. What am I curious about in the art? And, like, an individual session, and I might have said this in, I don't know what episode that was, but when I did another individual session with somebody, they, like, drew a window in their artwork, and I didn't ask about, I had asked them to draw a wall and decorate it. So they started with decorating the wall, and I don't remember at what point they drew the window. Um, but when I asked about the window, it was like a forest in the background. And I was just like, tell me about it. And they were like, well, I don't really know. Like, I just felt like as I was creating, I realized that there was really nothing, like, you wouldn't be able to tell it was a wall. So I feel like this is really the only tangible thing on here. And I didn't probe further, really, because one, it was like we had already been working for like an hour, so it was kind of like time was up. And also, like, I just didn't think in the moment to ask that. And so in hindsight, and this is like, this was like a mock session. So I haven't really brought it back up to the person, but in hindsight, based on the conversation that we were having, it makes sense that the window was kind of like a last thought or like a small portion of it, and what's depicted is a force, because we were talking about how they have all these like grounding practices, reiki, yoga, aromatherapy, breathing, all of these, and they feel like they're being called to come back to that, but they're still slowly approaching that. And so I was like, that makes sense for it to be like a little detail in the window, like the nature is calling you to come back to it. It's there and ready to receive you, but you're just not there yet. So yeah, it's like in the moment I could have said, like, if the trees in the forest had something to say, what would they say? So yeah. And so my response to that directive, I painted a rock. This is my first time ever painting a rock. And so it's a river rock. And I painted like a little river with little rocks in it. Cause it reminds me of the river that I sit by almost, I try for every day, but we got to be realistic. How often and this was like kind of my thing. And I wrapped it up and I was like, it was beautiful. Somebody drew a sauna. Somebody was talking about music. Somebody was talking about like boarding school and the mountains, the view, and like being in Japan. And somebody else just did this beautiful like landscape of work and talking about how it shows up in like the doodles and their other work. And somebody else was just talking about spending time with their grandchildren. So it was like, it was beautiful to see how many elements of nature were in everyone's work, because that was really what my response was rooted in. And I was saying, like, ideally, I would love to sit by the river every day, but I'm not there yet. So I do try to aim for at least 2 to 3 times a week minimum. And if I can't make it to the river, well, one time when I went, I was able to record the sound of the music. So that brings me back. That's one way that I can experience that same energy every day. Or like this river rock, this like visual reminder. And like this one, because I've been holding it, it isn't as cold. But like if I'm hot, I can put it on my face and like cool me down. And then on the back of it, I wrote, nature teaches us harmony. Because everything is connected, everything is flowing. Like the trees, the plants are growing regardless. Like grass doesn't think about growing, and maybe it does. I'm not a blade of grass, and if you can talk to grass, hit me up, let me know, how does grass think? But yes, like the trees are going to grow regardless, the grass is going to go regardless, like the birds are going to chirp and sing and this, and like everything can coexist with ease. This is just the flow of life. And so nature truly does teach us that harmony. And I did get that quote from my yogi tea. So I'm thinking of all these things that like bring me comfort, make me feel good. Like finding what feels good. Yoga feels good. Like I said, I already told you what feels good. Drinking my cup of hot tea makes me feel good. It helps me feel warm inside. So these are just like all ways that I can kind of connect with that. So find what makes you feel good. So I've been rapping, and I talked about a lot of stuff that I didn't necessarily intend on talking. Who is that? I don't know who that is. So I want to leave y'all with a couple of words of wisdom. Before I do that though, I do kind of want to do a sort of correction, which I probably should have mentioned in the beginning. It's somewhat of a correction, and I had mentioned it on Instagram But last week's episode, when I was talking about like the whole Drake Kendrick stuff, and then I started just talking about like we really need to teach our kids, like when teaching in the elementary school level, we're talking about consent, we're talking about like good touch, bad touch, and recognizing predatory behavior. Also, what goes into that as well is body anatomy, and like the parts of the body, because you have grown people who still don't know like how, like, you have the vulva is on the outside, the vagina is what is like inside, and then you have like the different parts of that area. Like you have the vaginal canal, and then it goes into the uterus, and then it goes into fallopian tubes, and like it's a system. You see the lips, and even like breaking down the vagina, you have like labia minora, labia majora, and I don't even know. These are just like terms that I have seen. So I don't know all the parts, but I have enough, like, I know a little bit about my reproductive system, right? So I can label those parts, like the clitoris, and that there's a bunch of nerve endings in there, and that's why it gets so sensitive. And then you have like the penis and the scrotum, and you have urethras and all this stuff. So teaching them the language, and they're not grown adults, like, yeah, we might say pee or wee wee, but like you have some people who really think that that might be the names for that. And teaching them that like everyone's is different, it's not going to be the same. And so some of that is talked about in one of the upcoming episodes. And so it was like after I had that conversation, I was like, oh, that's something that I also forgot to mention. And also just like teaching body autonomy, and being like, this is my body, you don't have a right to touch it. And something else, like, and I kind of mentioned it in the episode, but like in the clip I was saying like, oh, you don't know this person, but like studies and statistics have shown that a lot of predators are people we know. So, like giving these kids the tools to advocate for themselves and to be able to protect themselves if we are unable to. And like, yeah, so I wanted to do that. So I have two pieces of wisdom, okay? So the first one, this is to all my girlies out there. As women, there are rules we need to stand by. Stand for something or fall for anything. There's rules to how to move out here. You know this shit get ugly. I had a bitch do me the dirtiest, but claim to love me. Bitch. I went through hella shit and back to be kicked up and comfy. You see how hard I grind? Little bitch, don't ever call me lucky. You fuck a nigga good enough, and he gonna think he own you. The broke ones usually insecure. The rich ones try to control you. That's why it's always best to choose the one that's real and loyal. 'Cause money come and go, but it's some shit you can't teach. Time gonna always separate the hustlers from the leeches. The loudest is the weakest. Don't give a fuck about what they screaming. And don't be matching fucked up energy with hoes in no way. Be realer than that lame shit, 'cause that right there ain't got no place. And don't be laid up face down with your ass out with some nigga you can't call for nothing if you assed out. I ain't saying that mean walk around with your hand out. But just in case some shit don't go down the way you planned out, don't go blowing bags on a bag if you can't put a bag in it, bitch. And never, ever, 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 ever fuck with a nigga you never see with his children. Don't never handle business decisions while in your feelings. Keep your hair and nails did. And don't play around about that fitness. Keep everyone out your game room and bitches out your bedroom. Now see the way that he treats you. Y'all, bear with me. Now they'll see the way they treat you and try to fuck them in the same room. A few deeds on this. See, I should have went to the other place. A few deeds and some LLCs, so you ain't cooked if a nigga leave. Sweet life ain't always sweet. A bitch gotta stay on her Q's and P's. 1, never let a nigga fuck you over more than once. 2, anybody owe you bread, do not accept the crumbs. 3, remember, you can never tell these bitches everything. 4, today she call you sis, tomorrow she your enemy. 5, money to the side. Don't let no nigga leave you dry. 6, stand on business. If they say it's up, you better ride. 7, keep the family first. Put that in front of everything. 8, bet that on yourself if you gonna roll the dice on anything. 9, any points to be made, don't be scared to prove them. 10, and you better look good while you fucking do it. Shout out Cash Doll. That's the Cash Commandments, okay? I've been listening to that on repeat. Them sound waves look crazy. I'm not sorry. I've been listening to that on repeat. Like, every single sentence just hit really hard. Don't ever let a nigga fuck you over more than once. Like, and this really goes to anybody. If a person screws you over the first time, that is who they are. Believe them. They just showed you who they are. Pick up your shit, take your notes, and keep it pushing. Don't take things personal. People battling their own demons. A lot of things are projection. They do not allow them to make their problems and their demons and their issues yours. Okay, but also, like, and I will say with a caveat sometimes, and this isn't with that, but I'm like, we also in that also think about what roles did you play, and it's not always the case, but like sit and ask yourself, why did it play out this way, or how can some things be different? Don't tell everybody your business, because some people really wish you ill intent. Save that money. Be an independent motherfucker. Don't let anybody else pay your bills. Like, yes, let other people pay your bills, but make sure you saving up your own money, okay? So in case something happened, you not ass out. Keep the family first. Put that in front of everything. I'm a firm believer in you choose your family. So maybe you don't fuck with your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother. Like, you cut your whole family off, but you have like your really close knit of friends, and that is your family. So the people who uphold you, uphold them, uphold each other, put that first, because we as much as we do things alone, or want to, or think that we do things alone, we really do have people. We have that family around us. Family is who you choose, what you make it. And have faith in yourself. Have faith in yourself and your journey. And don't be scared to prove that shit. And look good while you're doing it. Keep your chest up. Keep your chin up. And then really quickly, because I was like, oh, let me record this. I'm going to record for like an hour. And here we are, an hour and 30 minutes later. Like, this is always what happens. I got this book from Five Below. Shout out. I love getting books from Five Below. It's a little pocket book. It's by Deepak Chopra. I think I pronounced that wrong, or anyway. The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, a pocketbook guide to fulfilling your dreams. And you can read it in an hour. I read it in like a day. And so there are 7 laws: the law of pure potentiality, the law of giving and receiving, the law of karma or cause and effect, the law of least effort, the law of intention and desire, the law of detachment, the law of dharma or purpose in life. This is a book I will be carrying around with me for the rest of eternity. This is a book that I will be reading over and over again. And so I did want to read, it's a quick read. I did want to read this first chapter with you. Okay. So, in the beginning, there was neither existence nor non-existence. All this world was unmanifest energy. That is a hymn of creation, the Rig Veda. That's the quote. So, the law of pure potentiality. The first spiritual law of success, the law of pure potentiality, says that our essential state is one of pure potentiality. Pure potentiality is pure consciousness. It is the field of all possibilities and infinite creativity. Our physical body, the physical universe, everything in the material world comes from the same place. A field of silent, unmoving awareness from which anything is possible. There is no separation between this field of energy and our spiritual essence, our self. This field is our own self. And when we know that our essential nature is one of pure potentiality, we align with the power that manifests everything in the universe. Knowing who we really are gives us the ability to fulfill any dream we have, because the same field that nature uses to create a forest, a galaxy, or a human body can also bring about the fulfillment of our desires. Anything is possible in the field of pure potentiality. Because this field is the source of all power, all intelligence, and infinite organizing ability. Therefore, success in life depends on knowing who we really are. When our internal reference point is our spirit, our true self, we experience all the power of our spirit. When our internal reference point is the ego or self-image, we feel cut off from our source, and the uncertainty of events creates fear and doubt. The ego is influenced by objects outside the self, circumstances, people, and things. It thrives on the approval of others. It wants to control because it lives in fear. But the ego is not who we really are. The ego is our social mask. It is the role we are playing. The need for approval, the need to control things, and the need for external power are fear-based. This kind of power is not the power of pure potentiality, the power of the self or true power. Self-power is true power because it is based on the laws of nature and comes from knowledge of the self. Self-power draws things that we want to us. It magnetizes people, situations, and things to support our desires. This support from the laws of nature is the state of grace. When we are in harmony with nature, we create a bond between our own desires and the power to make these desires materialize. How can you experience the law of pure potentiality? One way is through the practice of silence and meditation. This means tuning out the world and taking time to simply be. In the Bible is the expression, "Be still and know that I am God." Stillness is the first requirement for manifesting your desires, because in stillness, you connect with the field of pure awareness and infinite organizing power. Imagine throwing a little stone into a still pond and watching it ripple. That's what you do when you go into silence and introduce your intention. Even the faintest intention ripples across the field of universal unconsciousness that connects your desire with everything else. This field can orchestrate an infinity of details for you, but if your mind is like a turbulent ocean, you could throw the Empire State Building into it and wouldn't notice a thing. Practicing non-judgment is another way to experience the law of pure potentiality. When you are constantly judging things as right or wrong, good or bad, you create a lot of turbulence in your internal dialogue. This turbulence constricts the flow of energy between you and the field of pure potentiality. In the silent space between your thoughts is a state of pure awareness, an inner stillness that connects you to true power. Through the practice of non-judgment, you silence your mind and access your inner stillness. Another way to experience the law of pure potentiality is to spend time in nature. Go touch some grass, y'all. Go touch some motherfucking grass. By observing nature, you begin to sense the harmonious interaction of all the elements and forces of life. The lavish display of abundance in the universe is an expression of the creative mind of nature. Just by tuning in to the mind of nature, you will access the field of pure potentiality and infinite creativity and spontaneously receive creative thoughts. Whether it be a stream, a forest, a mountain, or the sea, connecting with nature's intelligence will give you a sense of unity with all of life and help you to get in touch with the innermost essence of your being. This essence is full of magic and mystery. It is fearless, it is free. When you are grounded in the knowledge of your true self, you never feel fearful or insecure about money or fulfilling your desires. You never feel guilty about wanting or having an abundance of anything because you realize that the essence of all material wealth is life energy. You know that your desires are inseparably connected with everything else. Your very desire is not your own, it's an evolutionary impulse coming through you, so why would you doubt it? That impulse is part of the greater pattern, which is to grow and evolve into greater abundance and creativity. The law of pure potentiality says that you are consciousness itself, both as it manifests in the material world and as it lies unmanifest in your being. With the knowledge and practice of this law, you can put yourself in harmony with nature and create with carefreeness, joy, and love. Wherever you go in the midst of activity, carry your stillness with you. Then the chaotic activity around you will never overshadow your access to the field of pure potentiality. So, simply put, in order to experience this law of pure potentiality, take time each day to be silent, to connect with your spirit, to just be. Turn the music off, stop talking, turn the TV off, put that phone down, and just sit. And even if it's for, set a timer. Maybe this is like the idea of sitting in stillness is terrifying. But we have to put our toes in and get comfortable with it. Take it day by day. So if you got to start with a 2-minute timer of just sitting, notice what sound you hear. When I sit in silence, it's not really, the silence isn't really silent. You're thinking about trying to turn your brain off and tune into what's going on around you. So when I try to sit in silence, it's I might right now, I can hear birds chirping. I can hear the wind blowing. I can hear tires, people driving. I can hear people talking, and I hear things in the hallway all the time. It's not really silent. And then you can kind of think in a bigger perspective of whenever I do that, I'm okay, the car is driving. I don't hear anything immediately right here. That means that's down the street. I can hear people on the highway. Somebody just drove through a puddle. That sounds like a big truck. And it is a big truck. It's a tow truck. Oh, I hope somebody's not getting towed. So tune into that quote unquote silence. Practice non-judgment. Begin each day with a statement. Today I shall judge nothing that occurs. And throughout the day, remind yourself of that statement each time you catch yourself judging. I think judging other people. Why are you what about that person is unsettling or making you look at them a certain way, and is that something literally okay, that person smells bad? Well, maybe there's a couple things to consider, maybe they are homeless, because homelessness, I've talked about this, I think that was Super Torpedo Squirt, maybe, or maybe it was no, because well, which one was that? Because then I don't remember what the title, when I went to Bowie Park, that's neither here nor there, but there was an episode where I was talking about homelessness, and I was outside. That video is on Patreon. But, maybe someone's homeless, so they weren't able to get a shower today, so that could be part of it. Or maybe they just really don't, they don't have, they were never properly taught hygiene, because in college it taught me that not everybody knows how to clean, and that can include body. They don't have that, they weren't grown up with personal hygiene being like shoved down their throats, or even not even shoved down their throats. They just weren't taught. Like, it just wasn't a custom thing in their household. And so, you know, like, looking at it as a place of like, maybe they just don't have the tools, and you could either choose to inquire about that, you could try to separate yourself from that, or you could figure out like, okay, this person doesn't smell the greatest, how can you be of assistance to like help them recognize it, because it could be a situation where they don't recognize it. And there's like tough conversations, but not really like, or maybe it's just like, oh, it's the way you walk, it's the way you talk. What about it? Is it because they're very confident in themselves and maybe you lack confidence? I'm talking to you over there, Miss Jealous Betty or Jealous Daryl. Those are just the two names that popped up. But yeah, so like, not coming from a place of judgment, and if we do, like, kind of dive, why are we judging? What is making us judge worthy? And then commune with nature. Silently observe the intelligence within everything. Watch a sunset, listen to the sound of the ocean, or simply smell the scent of a flower. So I will leave you with those nuggets. Again, this is Deepak Chopra. I'll put the book in the details. And I'll probably, it's a really quick read, about an hour and a half, depending on like how fast you read, or how many breaks you need to take, because I took a lot of breaks. But I had like bought it on Sunday. I read the introduction and the first chapter before I had did my directive on Monday with the group. And then I read the rest of the book. Well, I started reading the rest of the book when I got home that night, but you know, I'd be tired, so I fell asleep. And then yesterday, on Tuesday, I went and I read the whole book while sitting next to the river. So yeah, find what feels good. Go touch some fucking grass. Don't judge people. Stays on your P's and Q's. Save up that money. Keep your family first. What else did I say? I said a lot. Eat healthy. Get in a routine. Find what makes you feel good. That's it. That's all, y'all. Be safe. Make good choices.